Hello everyone, welcome to the lesson number 18 of the FX Masters program. Um, I know you've been waiting for this one as well. I know I announced it a few days ago and you've been keen to see how you do this. As you can see, we're going to be talking about what they call the mirror dimension, right, on Doctor Strange. Well, here's a clip taken from the actual trailer of the film, and you can see how it works. I think many of you, if not all of you, have seen the film already. For those of you who haven't seen it, the purpose of this effect, the way they explain it in the film, is that it's almost like they contain a space. Let's say they contain people and things within this called mirror dimension. You can see that they activate it pretty much anywhere they like. They go through it. There's no deformations on the actual mirror itself, and they just go behind it, and they kind of everything that happens inside of that area, it doesn't affect, let's say, the real world. That's the explanation that they give on the film. The point being here is it resembles almost like a diamond, I would say, probably the faces. It's a reflective surface and it's refractive as well, from what I can see. And like it happened with the previous lesson, is pretty much like me telling you that there is no Santa Claus or whatever you believe in doesn't exist. You'll break your heart to know that it's extremely, extremely simple to do. Very, very easy. It's so easy that actually I will just tackle this as let's say of a simulation of the situation as it would happen in a studio, right? And you will see, and then I'll show you how the studio will actually handle this and how it will work in order to get this. Because to me, again, this is the better, I would say, or my contribution to your journey as a student is much better if I just give you those kind of experiences, because to be honest, just the effect itself is extremely simple. So let's go ahead and tackle it that way. Let's say, okay, let's imagine that we're not looking at a trailer of a finished version, we're just looking at an animatic, for example, or a concept art. Let's say that they stop somewhere, let's say there. Let's wait for Doctor Strange to come through. Just go back a bit faster. All right, let's say that we have a concept art of something like this. Let's say that they made a painting, right, using Photoshop or whatever. The concept artists are quite skillful, so they're able to replicate something like that as a 2D image quite easy, right? So let's say that they sit down with the director and the art director, whatever, they come up with this image right here. Okay, they call me in. For some reason, I got assigned to do the R&D, let's say, or testing of this shot. Perfect. They call me in, they show me the picture, and they do the explanation that I did at the beginning. Okay, this is Louis, is an effect that these people will go through it, and everything that happens inside is contained within that area. This is just a visual representation that we need in order for the audience to understand that they're crossing over towards like an imaginary hard wall, right? Okay, something like that, right? They will explain it to me. Perfect. So why would I ask? Okay, why would I ask to be able to understand correctly how it's going to work? And you can take notes on this one, right? Or just try to remember, because that's usually the procedure that I usually follow, and most TDs tend to do as well. So my questions, okay, well, assuming that of course I'm looking at a still frame, just a painting, I will say, all right, what happens as they cross over? I will ask, do they create a ripple? Does the interaction from the character and the actual effect, is it visible? And they will answer, and I'm telling you now directly, they will answer, but I know what it will look at the end right now. So I'm assuming their answer will be, no, Louis, there's not going to be an interaction. They just kind of cross over. You will see them reflected, and then you will see them behind the glass itself. Okay, perfect. I asked that because I need to know if I'm gonna need the characters as an actual digital double kind of thing, if I'm gonna have to do collisions or if I'm gonna have to put forces, okay, around the character itself to be able to deform this thing. But that is a good news. They tell me that there's no interaction. That's great. Next question I will probably ask. When they describe it to me, they will say, well, it's like a broken glass kind of thing. They will use those kind of words, right? They will say it has pointy edges, but you can kind of feel it ripple. And they will say probably things like it's almost like a water and glass kind of thing. They might go that way. So I will ask. In that case, I will ask, well, and on a side note, this is why it's so important for you guys to watch as many films as possible and try to store in your memory like a bit of a reference library where you can, when you're discussing these things with people, you can always have an example because that's the easiest way to get your point across, right? So I will say, right, based on what you tell me, what is it? Kind of like the Matrix kind of glass mirror thing. And if you don't remember if you don't know what I'm talking about, you remember in the first Matrix film when Neo takes the red pill, they sit him down in this chair and they start to hook him up to these wires and things. And there's a mirror to his right side. So at some point when he starts to kind of get under the influence of whatever they gave him, he turns to the right and he looks at the mirror and he sees some sort of distortion on the reflection, right? You can kind of notice that there's something going on. He stares at the mirror. He goes in and touches it with one finger or two fingers. He touches the thing and you can see a ripple going through the mirror. Then he pulls out the fingers and the mirror itself is kind of attached to the tip of his fingers and he's pulling the mirror away until it loses it and you kind of see the ripples like water. We did that simulation on the Effects Power User program on the first few lessons of the level 1 with the alien, right? We didn't have a Neo model, but we used the alien. It's the same idea. So me having that image in my mind, I asked that to know if I'm going to go for that route. And they will say, no, Luis, it's not like that because the Matrix mirror is more like water. You can actually you see a clearly ripple, a bounce off the walls of the mirror, come back. No, it's not really like that. We need more pointy edges. It's more like a diamond surface. And I can see it in the painting here. So it's like an in-between a diamond and that mirror from the Matrix, in my mind. All right, good. It's good to know that. Why do I ask that? Well, I ask that because I need to know if I'm going to be using a high-resolution mesh, right, for this. If I need to simulate that as something else. If I'm going to be using springs or things like that. All right, based on their answer, I'm sorry. Okay, cool. I know what I'm going for. Next question from me will be, perfect, who's going to be the lighter and who's going to be the compositor on this thing? Very, very important stuff. The simulation part of this is extremely, extremely easy. I yesterday, believe, or the day before, I posted a promotional material about this lesson, and I said that it will take 10 minutes to do the simulation. I already did this class in Spanish, and that's what it took, 10 minutes. What I mean by this is that your part as an FXTD in this type of shot is very basic. And it's very good. Take that as a good news. I know that at the beginning you want to eat the world and you want to be, doing the most difficult stuff, and it's good, but you have to find a balance. Every now and then it's good to have something like that. This is the kind of effect that everyone will remember, and it won't take away your time off. It won't eat up your weekends or nighttime. No, it shouldn't. If you go as we are used to getting, work on this course, working efficiently, working smart, then you shouldn't have any issues with this. So I asked about the lighter and the compositor because those two guys are going to be my best friends for the next few days as we progress in this. Why is that? Well, assuming that this film, I believe, was done in Framestore, I think from what I read. I worked there already, okay? So I know what I'm saying. I worked there on a big film as well. I worked there on Gravity, so it was a big team. So they should, they continue having the same workflow. A situation like this one, The FXDD is not going to have anything to do with lighting or compositing of the shot at all, as usual, as per usual. But particularly so in this case. This is this is an actual reflective and refractive surface. This is bread and butter for a compositor and a lighter. Those two guys are the ones making this thing look pretty. All I need to offer them and give them is a deformed surface that complies with what my supervisor is asking me. That's all. So I ask, who's the compositor, who's the lighter? They will probably, if it's a serious place where you're working, they will be in the same meeting with you. So that's great. Say hello, get acquainted. Next question is, do we have an HDRI? And do we have, how's the layout state, the animation state? What do I mean by that? What do I mean by the HDRI? High dynamic range image, we already used that on previous lessons. Extremely needed for any surfaces of water, glass, or anything in between, which is the case. An HDRI image is an HDRI, the I is for image. An HDRI is an image that was taken on the set on the day of the shooting, or at least on the set under the same lighting conditions that were used on the actual day of filming this thing. I want to play it back so you can kind of see it working. The HDRI will capture all the light sources and all the texture from the environment, which is exactly what you need to be able to reflect on this thing. And remember something, right? This is probably, I haven't seen the behind the scenes or anything like it, but I've been in situations like this many, many times before. Obviously, the effect wasn't there at the time of the shooting, but the actors were in the set as well. So we need to reflect that to be able to make it feel like this deformed surface belongs in that area. And the HDRI is the most important thing. So someone on the day of the shooting went there with the chrome sphere and they took their, pictures of the set and they took that into the studio and they processed that image. And at the end of the whole thing, which you don't even have to care how many people took care of that, you end up with an image that is the perfect lighting representation of that set on that day. Great. They should answer yes. If they don't answer yes, then that's the lighter's problem, actually. It's not even my problem, but the lighter will need that, clearly. They assume that they say yes. Yeah, we have it. The lighter will send you the path to the file. Perfect, thank you. I will ask the lighter, listen, do you have any lighting on the set? Because let's assume also that probably this is a 3D set. I don't know. Let's say that it's a 3D set. The guy will tell you, yeah, I have my lights already, my pre-light, usually we call it. The pre-light is not the final lighting. I have my pre-light. I will send you the scene file so you can grab the lights. Perfect, thank you. What else will I ask? Well, is the layout ready? The layout meaning if it's a 3D set, is the set final or is in place? The furniture, everything is in place. Is the character, if there is a character, there's the 3D, is it animated? Is the animation complete? And above all, the most important thing is the camera. So is the camera ready? Is the animation of the camera final? Because that's definitely very important for me and for the lighter and for the compositor ultimately. So if the camera is not ready, then what the hell are we doing? Because I can test it, but there's no point in rendering anything yet because there's no, especially for something like that it will get very expensive, rendering. But let's assume that they say yes, we have the camera, we have the set, character's ready, HDRI is ready. Here's your lighter, here's the comper. It's not my lighter. I hate when people do that. This is my lighter, my comper. They don't work for me. We all work together. So here's the lighter, here's the comper. You guys work together, communicate, beautiful. Those are the basic questions I will ask, of course, as long as I know when is the deadline. If not, then how many days do I have? Or they will ask you, Luis, how many days do you think you need? And again, you have to. I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to remember me for a long time when you start working until these things become second nature. I remember your dear Luis, your teacher, who's telling you, don't tell the truth so clearly, right? If it takes 10 minutes, don't take 10 minutes. For the love of God, don't do that, right? Say whatever, a day, I show you something this afternoon. If it's early in the morning, why not? They love it. After lunch, I may have something. Oh, great. Really? Yeah, great. They will love it. And they will be counting on it, believe me. After 2 o'clock, they will be calling you, so be careful. All right, let's say I think those roughly are my questions. I could also ask the behavior of the portal itself. That do you expect this thing to grow from a small point and get bigger? Do you expect it to have any other sort of behavior? Anything else I should know? I usually end up my meetings like that, when they're actually telling me about a new shot. I just say, okay, I think I got everything I need, but is anything else do you think I should know? They love that because it shows that you respect their opinion, you respect the direction, which I do. So I think it's understandable. Let's say, no, Luis, I think it's fine. Let's just make sure that this is an effect, for example, that is pointed at the center, for I can see, right? I can see the deformation first here, and I can see it ripple away. Well, we'll keep that in mind. Anything else? No, I think it's all that. It's all good. All right, good. Thank you. Done. Meeting is done. I go to my desk, and I go in and using the tools of the company, which is usually we have a shelf where you can import your geometry, your camera. They have a version control system, which is usually the case in all these companies. Let's assume that this is what I got. I got the set, okay, right here. I got my character. In my case, it's static, but let's say that doesn't matter. It can be animated or anything. And I also get my camera 1, which is my render camera. I also got, based on what I told you, right, the preliminary questions and the information they gave me, I also got my sky dome, which is my HDRI. I can see that in here it's mapped to an image. Assume in your mind, imagine that this is the image of the set. All right, I get my HDRI, done, camera, done, set, done, character, done. Good. No any extra lighting. Let's assume that there's no need for that right now. Okay. Based on that, I got everything I need. I got my frame range, which is not 1,000 frames. Let's say that my shot is 10 seconds long. I get everything. I think I'm ready to start. Beautiful. Let's go in. Another thing, it could happen, it could be the case that your layout, so the set itself, will come with a preliminary position of a static plane for the formation, right? This is usually when you do the layout, when they do the layout, they tend to place it in a static fashion, right? But they do place something there. So I'm gonna rotate my plane, say -90 degrees, and they do the placement because they will need to decide how close to the character it's gonna be. So it could come with it, a static plane, which actually I prefer. The less I need to think, the better. And this is the kind of shot where you're gonna have to be comfortable with delegating as much as you can. And I will show you my version or my way of working and how can I get rid of work from my end and pass it on to the lighter and the comper and actually have them be, make them feel happy about it. That's tricky. I'm going to wash my hands of many things. I'm going to pass it on to them to make those decisions, and they're going to be thankful for it. I'm not cheating or tricking anybody. I'm just saying my way of thinking is that I don't need to have control over so many things. I think I can delegate some stuff that people will think are effects related, but they're not really onto the proper people. So the lighter can handle for example, how fast the deformation will happen. For example, he can control that if he wanted. So isn't it better? Isn't it better to pass that on to him or pass that on to animation, for example, and let the animators work with the animation director and be happy about the deformation? So imagine the feeling of an animator or an animation director if you tell them, you know what, man, you're going to be able to control this deformation with regular animation keys and time it as you wish. They will love you for it. They will definitely love you for it. That's guaranteed. And I think you already know by now that the main thing that I've been trying to tell you always is that you need to Make the studio feel like home, and you need to feel like people appreciate you. That's one of the biggest problems that this industry is suffering at the moment, is lack of appreciation, lack of respect probably for the workers. And yes, it's an epidemic that is spreading all over the place, but it's not everywhere. And it's not like that. It's not like people tend to think. If you are a good worker, if you are a good person, if you are considerate, if you are a hard worker, committed, and loyal, right? In any job, it doesn't have to be in VFX, but any job, people will appreciate you, right? If they don't, then that's not the right place to work. So if you are giving them so much freedom, right, and flexibility, an animator wants to control many things. That's their job. They want to be able to control it. And myself, as an effects artist, I don't really need that. I have many other things to take care of. So if I can just do something in a way that they can handle that much better. So imagine that. So an animator or a lighter can control the speed of the formation. It's something that you can have this effect, for example, simulated once for an entire sequence. You don't even have to do it on a frame by frame basis or a shot by shot basis. I'm sorry. So I can run one beautiful simulation that it can be used anywhere, and you don't have to touch it. Imagine how cool that would be. Just picture it. One simulation for an entire sequence, or probably for the entire mirror dimension for the entire film with one simulation. If you manage to do that, if you manage to present this and goes through, you will be loved. In the next film, they will definitely come to you first, which is a dream for every effects artist. You get to pick where you work. I want to see you guys enjoying yourselves. I keep saying that. I do care deeply for all of you. I appreciate your effort, and I appreciate your commitment and your sacrifice. I know that these courses are not they're affordable, but I know that it's hard for some people. I know it, and I understand that and appreciate that. That's why I try to put everything I have, right? But it goes beyond that. I don't. For me, it's not like, okay, I sold a course today. I have one new student, it's great, and yeah, no, it goes beyond that. I wanna remain friends with you. I wanna be able to, well, I want to hear it. You know what, man? You're right, man. I'm working on, who knows, Iron Man 6 or Doctor Strange 3, and this is great. And man, you were right. You see the portal dimension now is three-dimensional, like you were probably anticipating back then. Or yeah, I did the thing that you said, and that's actually working. Man, this is great. Or if you have an issue, I'll try to help you. But that's how you get it, right? So you need to be able to work smart. So I will probably tackle it that way. That's what I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to tackle it in one shot. I'll do my testing. I'll do my, let's say, look development, let's call it. You want to call it R&D because people tend to overinflate that word. R&D, you will imagine coding and things like that. But well, this is a research as well. But let's say look development. I will handle my look development in one shot, and then say, you know what, I think, and if you get your compositor and your lighter on board, believe me, they're gonna buy it. If you get them on board with this, then it's great. Make them feel that it's actually good for them, which it is good for them. It's good for everybody. So what I will do is, okay, let's say that I have my plane here. I'm gonna scale it up and have it, let's say, I don't know. Let's start with this. I'm going to get my height first. Way too big. So my height probably can be 15. No, not big enough. I want to be able to go a little bit underground here. I'm sorry, just some people are sending me messages. Okay, so I want to go a little bit underground here, and I want to be a little bit above ground here. Another thing, this effect, after it's simulated, people can scale it as well. So it's very, very cool. All right, let's say 18 just to be on the safe side. I don't want to be so, it doesn't matter. It's not going to make it so much lower. So I want to go a little bit bigger in case I have I open the camera a bit wider or something. Okay, so perfect. I think it's fine. Let's do the width. Now we have 20. What about 30? No, I need a little bit more. 40 just to be on the safe side. The same thing. In case they open up the camera. So I have a bit of room to play. That's also important in camera, right? Because these effects are camera based, right? So if they open up the shot, then you need to figure out how to, deal with this. All right, I think it's okay. Right. I'm just gonna do just to make my calculations a bit easier because why not? I'll make it a little bit bigger like that. So I'm just gonna go a bit on the ground and let the rest be up, in case they open up the shot, so they can open it up a little bit. You see, and they will still hold. So that's good. All right. Cool. So I got 40 and 20, meaning that for deformation, you need to always refer to your guide here. That's why I asked if it's going to be like the Matrix one, where it's more ripply. And they said no. I have this. I asked that, like I said, because I needed to know how to tackle that situation. And what I mean by that is that do I need a high resolution plane? Because it's going to be ripply, like water. I will need more detail, right? But actually, they said no. It's actually the best answer I could possibly get for something. You know that less resolution is faster always. So great. This is great. Actually, it's a good day. If I'm at the studio and I get this, I'm happy because I don't have to worry about it. And if I can buy it, I can probably go through the entire film with just this thing, and I'll be a happy guy. Um, so yeah, I get my that. So I'm just looking at if this is a picture, right? This is a concept art. I'm just looking at a bit how big these edges are to keep them sharp. So yeah, I can see that they have detail, but it's not crazy, high resolution. So I can do a few versions, as I always tell you. Don't show just one. So I'm gonna show a couple of versions. Um, so I'm gonna grab here and I'm gonna say the same thing. I'm gonna start with 40, and I'm gonna start with 20, and I get this kind of size, and I'm just comparing. This is not a rule, okay? I'm just thinking. And to be honest, I did this class in Spanish, but I'm doing things all over again with different numbers. I don't know. I just don't write down anything. I just go start fresh. I want this to be as real as possible to the situation. So this is not really planned or anything like it. So I don't know. And we'll see. If it doesn't work, we'll fix it. That's actually, I think we learn more for failing than from going perfect. So I welcome that. But in my mind, I'm just thinking, well, I think this length is kind of similar to that length. I'm gonna try that and see how it works. We'll see. I'm gonna make a duplicate of this. Let me just open the outliner. Right, and I'm gonna name this my mirror square. Square, I put that because the divisions are square. Yeah. Right. Okay, I got that. We'll see if it works. We'll try later. I'm going to duplicate it. That's not what I did. I'm going to duplicate it. There we go. And this one is not going to be my mirror square. It's going to be my mirror triangle. And why is it a triangle? Because I'm going to hide this first. So Control H to hide it. This is my mirror triangle. And this one I'm going to triangulate it. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to do triangulate it just to see how it behaves, right? Cool. I don't know, let me just look at something in here. Yeah, there's nothing else you can do. Yeah. All right, cool. So it's triangulated. So I get my triangle one and my square one. I'm going to grab this triangle one and I'm going to delete history. And also I'm going to freeze transforms. You know that I like to work clean geometry. That's done. Here's my mirror square. Same idea. So I'm going to freeze transforms and delete history. Great. And I'm going to save my scene. It's already named FX Master Lesson 18. I'm sorry. I haven't saved, so save. On the FTP, by the way, you already have the scene file. And the textures needed for that because it has textures. See? So that image is there. The HDRI picture is there. So we're kind of simulating what I told you, the situation, right? Assuming that I'm the studio then. So you got all that there. You can start working on this. Cool. I get my planes in place. And how do you handle this? Someone, it's not you guys. Some person, someone who's following me on Facebook, he saw the promotional material from a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Yeah, but you should, I can do that on RealFlow." He said, uh, "Yeah, of course you can. You can do that in many different softwares, but why would you again use a bazooka to kill a fly? It doesn't make any sense. This is a type of effect that simulates faster than real time. That's why I go home and he stays at work. This is so fast, and it works. It's so fast that it will simulate the whole thing faster than he can open RealFlow. So don't kid yourself with that. Don't do it. Even if my supervisor would have told me that it was more like the Matrix one, there was Ripley, I will still use soft bodies, man. I will probably even use enclave. That's how much trust I have on that system. So don't fool yourself. Don't let someone else tell you that you cannot do something. I hate it, man. I hate it. And sometimes people, there might be opinions of me somewhere online that I'm rude or not rude. Actually, they don't say rude. We have a word in Spanish, which is antipático. So it means like, you're not really friendly, let's say. So yeah, there might be opinions of me because sometimes I just gets on my nerves when someone try to outsmart or try to be smarter and try to make comments. Yeah, you can do. I'm not saying. Have I ever said, "Oh, you have to do this and this is the only way. My way is the only way." Never, never, never. God damn it! But do I enjoy when I go home and they stay at work? I love it. I love it. I love it when I have to pick up their shots at the end because they can't finish. I love it. So it's for a reason. I say things for a reason. So no need for RealFlow, no need for enclave, no need for any plugins or things like that. You can just use the regular stuff, man. This is so basic. That's why this film didn't impress me so much. Because the portal effect and the mirror dimension, which is two main things of the film, are basic. Yeah, you got a folding city and all that, but yeah, that's not even an effects department task. So it looks beautiful, but it reminds me of I forgot the name. The DiCaprio film. Okay, Inception. Sorry, I had a brain freeze there. Inception. It reminds me of Inception. So I haven't seen anything new in this film, to be honest. Not yet. I like the cape though. The cape that moves around and bounces and acts. That could be cool. So anyways, all right, cool. I got my plane in place. I got my square one and my triangle one. I don't know if the resolution is going to be the right size. We'll have to test it. How do you do this? How do you do the effect then? Well, no worries. You go back to effects, go to end particles, go to soft body, and make it. That's it. I'm done. Pretty much. Grab my particles, get rid of the conserve. I get rid of the conserve because if you look at this example here, especially the early frames, you see that it's not a ripple. It's not like it breaks here and it moves over there. It's very contained. And every time you do an effect, like I said earlier, if you can have parts of your effect being animated by hand or probably by hand. I'm saying if I can art direct or animate or direct how fast this thing is growing, okay, it's better because there's probability that an animator will want to do it. And hey, go ahead. So I wouldn't have it to be so free and dynamic as other situations. I'm just probably here I want to control how fast this thing expands. And my point is that you don't see, and that's actually what makes it look very interesting, I think, is that you don't see here anything. You kind of see distortion in the center, but you don't see it here, so it doesn't feel like it's a wall. It feels like it's growing, right? But progressively, it's not really like a ripple effect. So if I get rid of the conserve, I'm sure that the particles will only move if I tell them to move with a force or with a collision. Yeah. So that's much better. So I'm going to get rid of the conserve. That's my point. And I'm going to grab my particles and I'm going to make a force. I'm just going to make a turbulence field, for example. I'm going to use a cylinder Here it is. I'm going to rotate that. Done. Yeah, there's no Santa Claus, guys. Films are, sometimes are very mundane, very simple. You don't need to, the environment is just, the set, I'm sorry, it's for reflections only, so you can have that. We don't need to see that. And even we don't need to see the sky, the HDRI. So I can focus on my thing. So there we go. Perfect. I'm just going to place it in here. And I'm going to determine what I want. Do I want it to grow from this size into a bigger size? Or do I just want it to be like this one where, follow it again from the beginning. You see that if I go frame by frame, try to use QuickTime because you can go frame by frame, it's much better. You can see that it's happening, right? It's happening all around. So it's not like it's little and it grows. It almost feels like the attenuation of a force field, right? It's stronger here and it gets weaker as you get there. Up to the point where, yes, the entire thing moves. But it doesn't really feel like it's something growing. It's just the force itself is expanding kind of thing. That's at least the way I see it. Probably you might see it differently. So I'm just going to grab this and I'm just going to make it bigger. Big enough to be, well, whatever I need. So remember that anything outside this cylinder is not going to move. So I'll make it, and you can control how much you move, right, with attenuation. So it's simple. So I get something like that. I'm just going to need to make it so big. What the hell? All right, what's happening? Just trying to scale it. Okay, whatever. Scale in Y. Just put 3. Don't panic. Remember, don't freak out. If for some reason, you see, it doesn't want to move, I don't care. I'll just do it here. Live your life in peace. That's what we all want, right? All right, so it scales up. That's good. All right, so I had something like that. Good. I got my particles, and I can control here with the goal weight, which is right here. I can control how much they will move. I get my turbulence field. For now, I'm just going to get rid of the attenuation. Just don't know how to get confused. And I'm going to use, let's say, a magnitude of 20. And I get something that doesn't move, but it's okay. I'm going to grab my particles. And I'm going to lower the goal weight. So the goal weight, as you already know, you already can see that this is the main guy who's going to determine how much they want to move, right? That's always. Perfect. So I get pointy edges, which is good. I need the pointy edges, you can see. And always keep in mind that this is going to be a reflective surface. So every time you twist it, or you move it like that, and you're going to get some pretty cool reflections. Always make sure also, by the way, that your normal window, display, polygons display, and face normals. There they are. Make sure that the normal points in the direction of the character. The lighter will appreciate that because that's better for the reflections. So you can see that as I deform it, the normal changes. You see? The normal are the little green lines. They change direction. So that means that the reflections are going to go in that direction. That's what you want. Good. So I'm just going to grab display. See, if it's not there, you can either reverse the surface or just rotate it, right? Before you do the deformation. Just keep that in mind. So, right. So I don't need to see the faces anymore. The normals, I'm sorry. And I get my deformation. We don't know if it's enough resolution or not. That's something that you're going to have to try yourself and once you start rendering, but that's basically it. So it's not done just yet, but we pretty much have everything we need. I'm going to grab my turbulence field and you can experiment a little bit. But first of all, you need to decide if you want this thing, the pattern, to be like that. I find it on the reference that it moves. So it moves a little bit. So it's not static like this. So we need to put the expression. Expressions on face X, Y, and Z. I believe it was Alexis, I believe, asked me about if I could just share the expression that he said the script that I'm using. Those were his words, and I'm not really using a script, right? So I just want to make that clear. When you see me use an expression down here to put expressions on the actual face X, Y, and Z, it's not a trick. There's nothing magical that I'm doing. There's nothing special. Basically, what I'm doing is just, and I will do it once for you guys. Is I do it by hand once, right? So I just go in and say create new expression, copy it. You see me, you saw me do this so many times that I don't think it's needed. But let's say time, and whatever you can say, time multiply by 3 point whatever. Yep, and then you copy this, and you paste it twice, and you change the X for Y. For Y, and again here put Z, and then just offset this thing a little bit. You can do +5, and then change some of these numbers to make it look different, right? And then here will be anything you like, the time +9, and then here you can just put, I don't know, 2, I don't know, something like that, right? And you hit create, and it makes these 3 expressions here. Maya prints out this. I'm just going to copy it and throw it in here. Okay, this is a hard-coded thing. It's not really a script. It's just a printout of this. So if I want to reuse it later for another force field, right, or for use it in the future, I don't have to recreate the expressions by hand. I can just use this line. But it's only going to work if the field is called turbulence field 1. You can turn this into a script, yes, and I will leave that up to you because I think you have the tools to do that. So it works on any selection. You can take information and concepts from the zebra or the script that we did to duplicate the instances, remember? You can use some parts of that combined with this and make something better. But to me, again, because I hate complicating my life, I hate it. I like it simple. I don't care if I don't make this into a script. I don't feel less of a person or of an artist. What do I do? What have you seen me done? You see me done this. You see, I put the expression and I just say, and I just change the name, turbulence high, for example, right? And I grab my particles. I make another turbulence, which I know is going to be called turbulence field 1. That's why I changed the name, and I can reuse this expression. And done. You see, I get my 3 values here. That's all I'm doing. So Alexis, that's the reason why, I didn't. There's nothing to share. So, but here's the way how I did it. I have it here. This is the one you see me use a lot. It's the same thing, just different numbers. Right. So once again, I'm just gonna get rid of both. Grab the particles, make a turbulence field, and run this one. Done. Here are my numbers. Then I set the attenuation for now to 0 and the magnitude, let's say 20. Rewind, save it, and run it. This is what happens if you don't use a volume axis, because I redid the field, I forgot to do that. A cylinder, rotated, and I believe these numbers were 333 or 666. All right. So place it in there as you wish, as you see fit. And you are done with this part. Rewind and run it. Okay, so here we go. There's your mirror dimension. Okay, so you will say, yeah, well, I buy it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're on the right path, but that thing is moving too fast. Okay, here's a bit more pronounced. You can keyframe the magnitude, but also I will show you a couple of tricks here that will be very, very helpful for you. I'll leave up to you to decide how much resolution you're going to put in here, right? That's what's going to make more or less pointy edges, I would say. You can also play a little bit with the frequency of the field itself. So what I would do if I was going to present this for the first time, I would probably go to something like this. I would just grab this field, okay, and put it there. I will make a duplicate of it and another one. I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to place it there. And I grab the third one and I place it here. And I'm going to grab my particles and I'm going to connect them, as usual, to the other two fields. Why do I do that? Because I care a lot about my supervisor and his time. I care a lot about everyone, and in return, I think they will care about me too. Why do I say that? Because in one review, I can show him 3 different versions of possible looks. One of them, let's say for example this one, has a frequency of 1. It has no expression, so we're going to have to put them. The second one will have a frequency, let's say of, actually let's do something like this. First one will have a frequency of 2. The next one will have a frequency of 1, and the last one will have a frequency of 0.5. I need to put all 3 expressions in here. So turbulence field 1 already has it. So I'm going to put it, for example, turbulence center. This guy I can rename turbulence field 1 and use my expression. You see how a lazy guy works? There's nothing bad with that. Done. Expressions are there. So this is going to be my turbulence right. This guy now is my new turbulence 1, and I can run the expression one more time. And you can call this one turbulence left. Because you have no conserve on the particles, it can handle 3 different force fields, and it won't break anything up here. These guys won't move at all. There you go. So here you have 3 different levels of frequency. It might not be too noticeable, but you can grab the the gold weight, lower it to 0.2, and there you go. Different technique, different looks. Very, very noticeable now. You want to help them? Well, you could go and say wireframe unshaded. Well, that's on everything. If you need to, then yeah. So you can see how the frequency will affect. It's a combination of frequency on the field with the resolution of the plane itself. I myself consider there's no need to have springs in here. You can see the high frequency makes it look more watery. They might want to pick something in between, but it's fine. It's totally fine. All right, so in one review, he can experiment with all 3 different levels of frequency. So think of them and they will think of you. Okay? Care for their time, they will care for your time. So that's understandable, right? So there you go. So very quickly he can say, well, I think I incline myself more towards the high frequency, for example. All right, cool. Which one, the left or the center? Oh, the left. Done. You know that there is a frequency of 2 that you can use. Those meetings, right? Those comments that the supervisors give you, they get written down by the production assistant, and they get in the system. So if he changes his mind the next day, it's okay, right? Because there was a proof that he said the day before that he wanted high frequency. If he changes their mind the next day, it's not a big deal for me. But it's not you making a mistake. It's just he changed his mind. That just happens. So it doesn't matter. Especially when they start rendering this thing. All right, my point. Done. I get 3 different levels of frequency. Also, I care so much about them, and I care so much about myself. I want to go home so badly that I'm also going to show them the other version. So I'm just going to grab the mirror square. Okay, I'm going to disable my particles because this is done. I'm going to grab my square and I'm going to put it on a layer. So I'm just going to call this I wrote it the wrong way. Mirror square layer, save it. Okay, so I can just hide it. And I'm going to grab my mirror triangle. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to convert that mirror triangle onto a soft body as well. Done. Grab my particles. No conserve. Go and connect them to the same 3 turbulence fields. So you're playing by the same rules. And done. How much did it take? 30 seconds? I would say 30 seconds. And now you have 3 more versions. Now probably we want to take the conserve down to 0.2 like the other one, so it plays by the same rules. Just to show, and just to for us actually to test if triangle geometry is better, because you can request that from the team. Actually, I think I kind of like it more. But now we're gonna do something even cooler that we can. It's gonna run them, compare them all, and then you're gonna hand this thing over to someone else, so there's their problem to speed it up or slow it down or move it and place it. Think about this, man. Someone from layout, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all, not at all. You know that I'm not like that. I'm just saying someone from layout is someone who has wide knowledge of camera lenses, camera angles, modeling. They tend not to have a clue about effects. They have no freaking idea. They see us as a dark art. They see us weird. Like, you know, these guys are, you know, I don't care. I don't know what you do, right? It's awesome. But my point, they just don't have any knowledge of effects. Imagine if you tell them, you know what, man, there you go. You're going to be the one placing the mirror dimension simulation on every shot you want. They're going to love you. They're going to love you. Everyone's going to love you. Trust me. And that's what we're going to do. And then you get to go home. I'm going to make a t-shirt. You know, I want to go home early. Or at least if you say, well, Luis is just teaching us to be lazy. No. All right. Let's change the motto. Let's just don't say, I want to go home early. Just I want to do other things as well. I want to do more shots. More shots. Probably can say on the front, the teacher will say, I want to go home early, and then in the back, or do more shots. Okay, you choose. You put it, you know, backwards or forwards. My point is, you don't want to get too hung up, too stuck into this thing because it's not needed. There will be more complicated things that will need more attention. So this is your kind of refreshment for the day. Okay, a little chocolate bar in the afternoon. So these kind of things, it's a relief. That's easy. Cool. I have 2 different, simulations here. I'm going to play by the same rules, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to place it on its own layer. Okay, we're going to call this mirror triangle layer. And done. Okay, so what am I going to do? Like I said before, I want this thing I want to run the simulation probably just once, or at least the least amount of times as possible. Right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to cache, not the particles. I'm going to cache the geometry. And I'm going to cache it for, let's say, 1,000 frames. Right? So I'm going to grab my geometry. No need for particle caching, nothing like it. Nothing. You go to cache, go to geometry cache, and you're going to create a new cache. That is going to be called mirror triangle shape. It's going to be under this folder. It's going to last 1,000 frames. And if you can, I'm going to actually open on my phone. You can probably do that at home if you want to. I'm going to open the stopwatch. Right? Okay, I'm going to hit create. I get my stopwatch running, 2, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Here we are. Look how fast it's simulating. You're still looking at the RealFlow logo, trying that thing to open. And you're looking at it, it's opening the interface of RealFlow, blah, 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 it's done. Done. 19 seconds. Okay, happy. Done with this one, I'm gonna grab it and hide it. I'm gonna grab the particles for it and I'm gonna turn them off. I'm done. I'm gonna bring my square one. I'm gonna make sure that the particles for the square are on. And I'm gonna do the same thing. Cache, geocache, create new cache. Run, run, run for your life. It will take probably even less. I'm not timing this one. It took 19 seconds to run the previous simulation. It shouldn't take any longer. Probably when you do a little bit more detail on yours, you will take it your way. I'm loving actually how cool your submissions are getting on the support group. I think the message is getting through, and I'm very happy. So I will leave you guys to make your own versions of this. Why not, for example, in my opinion, why not do a spherical mirror dimension? I'll leave that up to you. Just think about it. It's the same technique though. All right, cool. I got 1,000 frames of this one as well. You may be wondering why I did that. And the reason is this. I'm going to save the scene as my 18 render. Well, it doesn't really matter, but let's just do this one. 18 render, but it's not in Spanish. It's in English. So in this scene right here, I'm just going to grab my particles and I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to say goodbye to all the forces and the duplicates. Away they go, and I'm done. And I have still deformation for both. So I'm going to move my triangle one anywhere you like. You can probably, I don't know, let's move it up, probably. I don't know. It's up to you how you want to present it. But I get deformation on all of them. Real time, bro. Bros, my bros. Look, faster than real time, for the love of God. Twice as fast. So it's time for a play blast. I'm actually going to put that back down here. Probably play blast them. Oh God. Okay. Probably play blast them one at a time. I don't know. So I'm going to look through my camera. If you want to do the real deal, then turn everything on, all your bells and whistles and things. We can probably now get rid of the wireframe unshaded and do it like that. There we go. And let's run this play blast and see what it looks like. So I'm just gonna save the scene. There's no dynamics, which is great. These scenes open really quickly. They're very flexible. I can just move around my timeline, go crazy. Nothing's gonna happen. I'm not gonna play blast 1,000 frames because that's not my frame range. My frame range is 240. I did 4 times the needed range because I want to pass this on to the lighters or the layout department so they can pick any range or any portion of the range as they wish. So there you go, perfect, it works. So let's go ahead and play blast it. Play blast runs really quickly because there's no particles to be calculated. Look how fast, big jumps they're taking. Done. Excellent. And there they go. You might think, well, it feels a little slow. And it's true, it feels a little slow. At least compared to what we have here on this version. And yes, it might need a little bit more detail. Well, you will be the judge of that later. But I'm not too convinced that it might need more detail because look at the length of this edge. And look at the length of that edge. It's about the same. But I do agree that it feels a little bit slow. So if I would have done things differently, I would have to go back to my simulation scene, change a few things, and play with the conserve, and start mixing numbers away and back and forth. It will take me longer to speed it up. Because it's not just a matter of increasing the turbulence magnitude, because I will also increase the frequency, and it will, you will start getting into deeper problems, or at least you will have to change too many things. Here, if I want to speed it up, I can be precise. And my supervisor can do it for me if he wanted. He can be precise to the point he can say, I want it 37% faster. It's that precise. You would never get that level of precision with just a simulation. And you guys know that I'm a big advocate of simulation. I live for this. I don't care about any other task in the world of VFX. I like simulations. But in this case, I'm saying, I'm not going to fix it with simulation. I think I shouldn't simulate this anymore. I think the simulation is done. Even if to add detail, you can add detail after this is simulated. You can add detail to this. It will still work. So let's say that my supervisor said, you know what, Luis, I think it should be twice as fast. All right, no worries, man. I grab this one. I go into the attributes. I go to my cache node right here. And if I want it to be twice as fast, I'm just going to scale this cache by half. What happens if you simulate, right? This is taking, imagine that you have an animation key and you open your graph editor, right? You go into Window, Animation, Graph. You open your graph and you do animation, you will have a curve, right? If you scale this by 0.5, it's like you were taking the curve and scaling it by 0.5, meaning that everything will happen twice as fast. Now, if you would have simulated, I'm sorry, I got stuck there. If you would have simulated 240 frames, right? Just the frame range that you needed, and then you scale this up, or scale it down actually by 0.5, you would run out of cache at 120 frames. Because imagine that the animation is all in here, right, as keyframes. If you scale it to half its size, you will run it here. So everything will happen faster, but you will run a simulation at 120. That's why I simulated 1,000 frames. That will allow me to scale this up to a quarter. You see, I'm thinking ahead. It took 19 seconds to simulate 1,000 frames. For a film like this, I will probably simulate 5,000 frames or 10,000 frames. And I want to give the layout department a wide range so they can work freely and they can feel happy and they don't have to even call me anymore. Everyone wins. So 0.5, let's go ahead and play blast this one. Twice as fast. Very quick to play blast. This is what you want, because when the simulations get too heavy, it's very tricky to get proper feedback, right? Even for us. So there you go, twice as fast. Okay, yeah, you say the supervisor, you can tell, you know what, don't leave, stay there, right there. I'm gonna give you twice as fast. All right, can you make it twice as fast again? Yeah, I think I can. I have range still. 0.25. Run it again. You see, he can see that this is a very flexible system. Okay, this is 4 times. He will say, okay, great. Then I can just, can I ask the guys in the layout department to do the work? Yeah, sure, man. I think it's best, just hand it over to them. They can animate it. They can just go ahead and tweak it and do whatever they like. You see? You will think, and I know you guys don't think that way. I know you guys are not against me, but let's just say, being the devil's advocate, like they say. So we'll say, yeah, but how do you control then, how far it goes? You will have to simulate that, right? You will have to change the magnitude of this, right? To simulate how much. Let me just hide this thing again, because I should have put everything in one layer, right? There you go. Someone will be like, well, yeah, you're right. You can manipulate the time like they do in the film. Great, good for you. But what about this? How about the distance with these things that are coming out? It's too much. If they tell you to reduce it, how will you do that? You have to simulate it. You'll be like, wrong. Absolutely wrong. I grab this and scale it, brother. There you go. Layout department can do it. A child can do it. There you go. It respects. You see, it respects your simulation. It respects your scale. Look. Because these are deformations done after the cache is being made. That's the power of geometry caching. No alembic, you see? No alembic, nothing special. Old-fashioned dynamics, old-fashioned geometry caching techniques. You can do this effect in the poorest studio in the world, and it will work. So now think this. You have a client who has a limited budget, and he loved the film. Imagine how he will feel if you tell him, you know what, man, we can do that here. We can do that for your commercial to sell mattresses. Who knows? A car dealership or something. Who cares? Well, I don't know where you guys live and what kind of commercials they have, but my country is messed up. My country doesn't have enough money. I'm not here because of that, but I'm just saying I'm used to hearing things, around me. So imagine if a client can tell you this and he likes the effect and he can have that on his own commercial with very little budget. Don't take any jobs that are unpaid, by the love of God. But I'm just saying, you can keep the whole budget for yourself. You can do the whole thing. He can have it. He doesn't have to go to Framestore in London and pay $1 million to get this thing. You can do it at home. Old-fashioned dynamics, old-fashioned geometry caching. Nothing special. That's the special part. There's nothing special. Present this in your demo reel, explain it and defend it like I'm defending my technique right now, and I guarantee you, you will have a job. You're looking that you are resourceful. You are, someone who, if given more time, more tools, and more money, imagine what you can do. So you can see, you can manipulate the time, the speed of the formation. You can manipulate also the magnitude after the simulation has been made, which is beautiful. And even if it's not enough, you can increase it. And you will respect it. Take a look. Yeah. Okay, no, that's too much. All right, I'm going to take it down. Cool. There we go. It works. See? It does work. Perfect. There's my mirror one. I'm going to get my triangle one. And the same idea applies for that. So you can present them next to each other. I didn't put the set here, but I'm just running it here so you can compare it. And make your little contact sheet and just show them and explain the differences between each one. So here you get triangulated geometry with a frequency of 2, a frequency of 1, and a frequency of 0.5. Tell them they have freedom to speed up this up to 4 times, and they can speed it down if needed as much as they like. Yeah. Here you have square geometry with the same idea, so you get 6 versions with the ability of manipulate time on all of them, and also ability to manipulate depth in all of them after simulation. I think I said enough, man. Aside of that, then you need to just load in the scene that I'm giving you, just like it works in a studio. I'm not trying to cheat. It works like this in a studio. A scene of this importance, I would say. You know, from the beginning of the lesson, you have a lighter, you have a compositor, you have me as an effects guy, and you also have the shading department, because assuming that you're working on Arnold or you're working on RenderMan, then they have a shader. They already have a glass shader for sure, because every film has to do it. But they might make something a little bit different for this, and that's something that you have nothing to do with. You don't even know. I never. If you ask me where the shading guys used to sit down in my companies where I worked before, I have no idea. I never saw them. Those gentlemen, they just sit in their own world and they program their things. They have a direct communication with the lighter, so that's none of your business. You, as an effects guy, if you might wanna show a test. Yes, you ask, like I did at the beginning, for the HDRI, which I'm giving you. It's on the FTP already. For this, which is your light. You will ask for the set and the camera and everything, which I'm giving you. It's all there. And you will also ask for a shader, which I'm also giving you. You can grab this. You open the window, rendering editors, open the hypershade. And here you'll have the AI standard, this one right here, which I should rename it. Actually, the scene file on the FTP, it has the proper name. It has Cold Glass. But this is the one, right? So I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to assign it to the selection. And you run your render. And this is like a cooking show. Those renders might take a little bit of time. So I prepared some very basic versions. So this is a surface with no deformation. Okay, I keyframe the size of, in that case, you can scale it up and down. And if you have full deformation, you get that. This is with squared. This is the first version I did. This is with squares, and it's using a spring, so it's more liquidy. When you run yours, it will be more pointy, more closer to what you have on the film. So I'm very keen to see the results that you get once you spend more time preparing your lighting. Talk to David Lorenzo on the group. He seems to be very familiar with Arnold. For what I understand, he's been using it for quite some time. So don't be shy to post on the group and ask questions about Arnold. I'm sure he'll be willing to help. This is just using the basic recommendations they have on their website for glass. Just like we did on one of the lesson of the Star Wars spheres, right? It's the same idea. So this is kind of the result you get. Have fun, enjoy yourselves, and don't ever doubt that Maya is very powerful. You can do these things very quickly. Whoever did this on Framestore and he sees this film, this video, he's gonna hate me, but I don't care. That's the reality, man. There's nothing rock and roll about this one. We're gonna do pretty cool stuff later, but this is cool in the fact that it's very simple. So with this, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you go for it. Don't forget to do the other assignments. I see many of the new things, and I know they're more Hollywood and you like them, but every lesson has a purpose. So don't forget to do the other assignments as well. But hey, have fun, and I'll see you in the group. Record the new lesson very, very soon. Have a good one, man. Thank you. Bye bye.